Hello, I'm Nathan Leahy and welcome to Next Week in Gaming. Our first title next week is releasing on Tuesday the 5th of April. It's one of the games I'm really looking forward to, mainly because it's got co-op, and this is called Enter the Gungeon. This is by Dodge Roll, and it is, of course, because it's so ridiculous being published by Devolver Digital, like this has them written all over it. If they didn't publish it, then God, no one else possibly could do them justice. And this is a awesome looking little 8-bit title that really reminds me of that sort of puzzle pattern shooter 2, which if you've never played it, look at some YouTube videos. It's insane, it's madness. And this is basically the same thing, but on the ground. Thankfully, you're not flying around in dress. And basically, you're just going to be picking up loads of absolutely ridiculous weapons that have strange effects, put on a massive light show. It does have single player, but I'm just diving onto it for that co-op action. It looks fun, got an awesome soundtrack, and, you know, it just promises to be entertaining and a little bit witty and silly at the same time. And, you know, there is a storyline revolving around a gun that can kill time or something like that, but for the most part it's just going to be some good solid co-op fun. Also releasing on Tuesday the 5th of April is The Gallery Episode 1 by Cloudhead Games, and this is a VR title, which is not just a simple VR title, but it's going to support the full room scale kit as well as the controllers. So it is, you know, you can sort of mess around with controllers, mouse and keyboard and stuff like that, or you can, if you've got the big dollars, you can go for the full all-out experience. And this is a bit more of a first-person puzzle style game. It actually looks quite pretty, and it is going to be episodic, so you'll see the game evolving the storyline over the next couple of months, maybe even years, depending on how successful it is. It looks pretty good. It revolves around quite a weird, adventure-y sort of, almost Tomb Raider-y, but it feels like, if you've ever played Singularity, it's got that weird futuristic but old-time vibe about it. So it does look really quite interesting. And, you know, obviously for the best experience, you're going to need VR. So for a lot of people, it's going to switch them off. But it does feature this weird system, which is called the Blink movement system. Now, I haven't looked into it that far, but by the sounds of things, basically what's going to happen is you'll be able to traverse the game using your eyes instead of mucking around with the controllers. So I'm not 100% sure how that works, but if you have got the full scale VR stuff, then you can just make a nice open area and wander around. So that actually looks pretty fantastic, to be honest. Another title releasing into Steam's early access this time on Tuesday the 5th of April is Hot Dogs, Hand Grenades, Horseshoes, something, a mixture of that. And this is not so much a game, but more of a highly ridiculous and very exciting experience. Again, this is VR. This is, you know, the next few months are going to be a time when VR is very heavily pushed now that all of the pre-orders up and people can buy all sorts of headsets. And this is another game that's going to support full-scale VR, but of course you will be able to do it without that. Except this game sort of goes to the very edges of what VR is capable of doing, and it's sort of, I feel like this game is going to lay a lot of groundwork for shooters. Now, this reminds me quite a bit of Receiver. It was a 7-day FPS jam game project where you sort of have to load your magazines, cock the trigger, aim and move around, load individual clips, and the same can be said of this game. Now, it supports both the controllers, so you can basically pick items up in both hands and they operate separately. You'll be loading magazines, you can throw grenades, you can throw dynamite, you can throw bananas for some reason, and you can pick up, you know, assault rifles, you can attach equipment to them, you can load them and do all that crazy stuff. And the most awesome thing that I've seen so far is you can actually sort of pick up 2 pistols, load a magazine in each one, and then shoot them separately or throw dynamite separately. So it's more of a proof of concept as opposed to a full game right now, and it is in early access, so there are going to be more little proofs of concept being added. And so for those people who are investing in the full VR experience, there aren't that many games that are really capitalizing on each individual aspect of this, but there will be these little experiences that do. So I feel like, even though I haven't played this, and you should just check it out on YouTube, I feel like this is going to be one of those experiences well worth diving into, especially if you've invested quite heavily into VR. Releasing on Thursday the 7th of April is a game by Dewino, and this takes a sort of different area of the room from VR, and this is sort of an audio only game. It's called A Blind Legend, and in this game you're playing a blind knight who's sort of led by audio cues, listening to the environment, your daughter who's leading you on this journey, and it's a game that was crowdfunded a little while back, and it's there to show people that game experiences can be experienced without visual stuff. It's the kind of game I'd almost feel like you'd need to put a blindfold on, stick the headphones on, and just immerse yourself in it. There was a couple of other audio only games which never, did get too successful, but this one seems to have got the ball rolling, and actually seems to have really ran with it this time. So I am hoping to dive into it. I was going to run a review of it next week, but stuff happened and we ended up looking at something else. But this is a game that is, I feel like if this game doesn't succeed, then not a lot will, but I'm really hoping that this one really grabs it by the horns and gets where it needs to be, because it feels like it could be a pretty wonderful experience, to be honest. So our review next Thursday on the 7th of April will be Hollow Drive. This is a game I covered a week or two ago, and I actually got reasonably excited about it because it reminded me of Awesome Noughts a little bit, but a little bit more shiny. And this is still an early access game, except the prime purpose of this is that it will eventually go free to play. They have got like a sign-up system on their website, so you can get early access for free, and they did a load of free game key giveaways with a couple of other people. And basically this is sort of like a 2D but semi-3D side-scrolling, team-based shooter thing with little robots, and you can unlock hats and absolutely insane weapons, similar to Enter the Gungeon. It's got some crazy weapons going on, and it looks like good old solid, 4v4, 5v5 fun. A little bit of multiplayer stuff going on, and I just wanted to jump in and try it because it seems like it's got a couple of reasonably decent reviews so far, which is pretty good. I mean, good on them, and it looked pretty cool, and I just wanted to, find a game like that no one really heard of so much, and I feel like I would probably enjoy it, to be perfectly honest. So we'll be doing that review, sadly not Sub-Area or a Blind Legend, but still should be pretty awesome anyway. So that is it from us at NextPowerUp. Join us next week on Thursday for our weekly review of Hollow Drive, and of course next week on Saturday for our next Week in Gaming episode. As usual, leave your comments in the section below for what you guys have been playing. Last night it was the Friday Night Magic, and I went 2 for 2 again for like the 6th time in a row, besides the modern event where I actually did reasonably well. But this weekend is a pretty cool weekend because it's pre-release for Innistrad. In a vacuum, the set is not that great, but pre-release events are always pretty fun. So I'll be doing that this Sunday and getting my hands on some cards early, and then it's the release event next Friday, and I think I have a booster box reserved, so that should be pretty cool and exciting. Who doesn't like Magic the Gathering? So I will probably be playing Hollow Drive for most of next week, and sort of mildly praying that maybe a Blind Legend developers Dewino will get back to me and I'll be able to jump on that and give you guys some of my impressions. Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys next week.